We have a gentleman here that needs help and he's not breathing.
Even as this desperate call was made to 911, Michael Jackson was already dead.
Getting down to the floor. I'm going to help you with CPR right now, okay?
As the caller pleads for help, Jackson's personal doctor is performing CPR on the star.
There's one question the entire world of music has been asking, haunted by, for over 15 years. Why couldn't we save Michael Jackson? The king of pop, the man who made the planet dance, the superstar who had just promised the greatest comeback in history, 50 sold-out shows at London's O2 Arena. He stood right there, full of life, telling the world,
"This will be it. This is it." And when I say this is it, it really means this is it.
But just 3 months later, he was gone, forever. At only 50 years old, not because of some tragic accident, not because of some mysterious disease. No, this is the story of unbearable pressure. A deadly drug he called milk, and a chain of heartbreaking mistakes that happened one after another, until it was too late. And today we're going to walk through every single minute of that final tragic day. The phone calls, the warnings, the cover-ups, and finally answer the question that still breaks millions of hearts around the world. Why couldn't anyone save Michael Jackson? Chapter 1. This is it. A dream comeback or a deadly trap? While the entire world exploded in cheers, convinced they were watching the greatest comeback in music history, the very first silent death knells had already begun to ring. Desperate, hidden cries for help that no one in that roaring crowd could possibly recognize as the beginning of the end. Only hours after that electric night at London's O2 Arena on March 5th, 2009, Michael Jackson sat alone in a rented Los Angeles mansion, hands trembling as he dialed the one person he still trusted completely. His mother, Catherine, picked up, and in a voice cracking with exhaustion and fear, he whispered the words that now feel like the first clear warning the world completely missed. This is it? This is really it. This is the final curtain call. The crowd erupts like a volcano, cheers so loud they shake the rafters. People are sobbing, jumping, chanting his name. In that moment, it feels like the greatest comeback in music history is finally happening. 10 shows, sold out in minutes, a world record. Everybody's calling it the biggest tour announcement of the decade. But here's the part nobody saw coming. Behind the smiles and the spotlights, Michael Jackson was already trapped. Later that same night back in Los Angeles, in a rented mansion that wasn't even his, Michael picks up the phone. His hands are shaking. He dials the one person he can still be completely honest with, his mother, Catherine. And when she answers, his voice cracks wide open. You can hear the tears choking him as he whispers the words that still send chills down your spine. "Mom, I don't know if I can do this. I can't handle 50 shows. I only agreed to 10. My body, it won't make it." 50 shows, not 10, 50. AEG Live had taken the original plan and exploded it overnight. The first 10 dates sold out so fast they smelled money. Serious money. So they rewrote everything. They told Michael it was now 50 dates or nothing. He woke up one morning to discover his life had been decided for him. No real discussion, no real choice, and the reason? Money. Cold, brutal money. By early 2009, Michael Jackson was drowning in debt. Over $500 million. $500 million. Neverland Ranch, the magical kingdom he built as a child who never got to be a child, had already been foreclosed and sold off in 2008. Creditors were circling like vultures. Lawyers, staff, properties, lawsuits from the 2005 trial. Everything was bleeding him dry. He hadn't toured in years. No new albums. Just endless bills and interest piling up like a mountain ready to crush him. He was living like a ghost, bouncing between temporary homes, watching the empire he spent his whole life building crumble right in front of him. This wasn't just financial trouble. This was a slow, terrifying financial execution. AEG Live had already sunk $20 to $30 million, some insiders say closer to $40 million, into the tour before it even started. Stage designs, rehearsals, marketing, insurance, the whole machine was rolling at full speed. If Michael backed out, the company would lose everything. So they did what big business always does when the money is on the line. They pushed harder. They controlled the contract. They controlled the schedule. They controlled him. Michael wasn't an artist anymore. He was the product, the golden goose that had to keep laying eggs no matter how sick it got. And he knew it. He felt it in his bones. The insomnia that had tortured him for decades was worse than ever. The old burn scars from that 1984 Pepsi commercial still ached every single day. His body was breaking down, but the contract was ironclad. Walk away and the debt would swallow what little was left of his life. Push forward, and he might not survive the push. That phone call to his mother wasn't just his son venting. It was a desperate cry for help. A clear, heartbreaking warning sign screaming that the king of pop was already at his limit before a single rehearsal even began. But the machine didn't stop. The contracts were signed. The tickets were sold. The world was watching. And in the cold eyes of the music industry, one man's breaking point was just another line item on a balance sheet. This was the very first domino, the moment everything started sliding toward disaster. Because when you turn a human being into a billion-dollar business deal, when you ignore his tears and his warnings just to protect your investment, you don't save him. You sentence him, and that sentence had just begun. Chapter 2. Michael's body was screaming for help, but no one listened. While the world was still buzzing about sold-out tickets and the greatest comeback ever announced, Michael Jackson's own body had already begun screaming for mercy, a silent, desperate cry that echoed through the empty rehearsal halls. But the only response it received was the cold, calculated click of another business email. By early June 2009, the This Is It machine was running at full throttle. The Forum in Los Angeles had been transformed into a high-tech rehearsal space. Dancers, musicians, lighting crews, and choreographers swarmed the floor every single day. But one man was missing more often than he was present. And when he did show up, the sight was heartbreaking. Picture the makeup trailer backstage at the Staples Center, mid-June. Karen Fay, Michael's longtime makeup artist and friend of nearly 30 years, is standing behind him as he sits in the chair. She has done his face for Thriller, for tours, for videos that defined a generation. But this time, as she leans in to apply foundation, her hands freeze. Through the thin fabric of his shirt, she can see every single rib. His skin is stretched so tight it looks translucent. She later testified in court, voice breaking, that she could literally see his heart beating against his chest wall. He was a skeleton, she said, a gentle genius with no muscle left to hold him up. Michael wasn't just thin. He was wasting away right in front of the people who were supposed to protect him. He was forgetting lyrics to songs he had performed thousands of times, songs that were burned into his soul. During one run-through, he stopped mid-verse, looked around confused, and quietly asked for a teleprompter on stage, something the king of pop had never needed in his entire career. The man who once moonwalked across the world's biggest stages now needed cue cards just to remember his own words. Then came June 19th, the day everything should have stopped. The rehearsal was supposed to be routine, but when Michael walked in, he was already shaking. Violently, his skin felt like ice. He was disoriented, trembling from chills that no amount of heat could touch. He tried to move through the choreography, but his body simply refused. Kenny Ortega, the director who had worked with him for years and genuinely cared, took one look and knew this wasn't stage fright or nerves. Ortega did what any decent human being would do. He stopped the rehearsal. He sat Michael down, wrapped him in blankets like a child, rubbed his freezing feet to get the blood moving, and, heartbreakingly, fed him spoonful by spoonful because Michael was too weak to eat on his own. Ortega later described the moment in court with tears in his eyes. Michael looked up at him like a lost little boy, begging with his eyes not to be abandoned. That night, Ortega sat down at his computer and typed the email that should have changed everything. He sent it directly to AEG Live, CEO Randy Phillips and co-CEO Paul Gongawere. The subject line was urgent. The words inside were a scream. He appeared quite weak and fatigued this evening. He had a terrible case of the chills, was trembling, ranting and obsessing. Everything in me says he should be psychologically evaluated. There is no one taking responsibility, caring for him on a daily basis. Today I was feeding him, wrapping him in blankets, and calling his doctor. My concern is that the artist may be unable to rise to the occasion due to the real emotional stuff. He's terribly frightened it's all going to go away. He asked me repeatedly tonight if I was going to leave him. He was practically begging for my confidence. Ortega called Michael a lost boy. He begged them to get a top psychiatrist immediately. He warned that pulling the plug would shatter Michael's heart. The response from AEG? Not a single meeting to cancel dates. Not a single call to slow down. Not a single moment of genuine human concern. Instead, just hours later, Paul Gongawere fired back an email that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who reads it. Addressing the concerns about Michael missing rehearsals, Gongawere wrote coldly to Ortega, "We want to remind Dr. Murray that it is AEG, not MJ, who is paying his salary. We want to remind him what is expected of him." That was it. The entire company's answer to a man literally collapsing in front of them was to pressure the doctor they were paying $150,000 a month to fix the problem, or else lose his job. No empathy, no pause, just business. The golden goose had to keep laying eggs, even if it was dying. Michael knew. He felt every second of it. He kept showing up anyway, not because he wanted to, but because he believed he had no choice. The contract, the debt, the fear of losing everything he had left. He pushed through days when his body was screaming, "Stop," because walking away meant financial ruin and public humiliation on a scale he couldn't survive. So the king of pop, the man who once commanded stadiums, now stood on a rehearsal stage, ribs showing, hands shaking, voice cracking, still trying to give the world one last perfect show. While fans outside were counting down the days to July, the people closest to him were watching a man slowly disappear. Karen Faye would later say in court, tears streaming, that she feared for his life. She bundled him in blankets, turned on space heaters, hugged him to try to warm the ice in his veins. She saw the paranoia creeping in, the repeating sentences, the faraway look in his eyes. This wasn't the Michael she had known for decades. This was a man whose body and mind were both waving white flags. But the machine kept rolling. The emails kept coming. The pressure kept mounting. AEG had already spent tens of millions. The tickets were sold. The world was watching. And in their eyes, one man's collapsing health was just an inconvenience to be managed by the doctor they controlled. This wasn't neglect. This was active, calculated indifference. The kind that turns a human being into a line item on a profit and loss sheet. Michael's body was crying out louder than it ever had in his entire life. It was begging for rest, for care, for someone, anyone, to finally listen. But the only thing louder than that cry was the sound of money. And in the cold arithmetic of the music industry, money always wins. Until it doesn't. Because by the time anyone finally decided to listen, it would already be too late. Chapter 3. Milk, the deadly sleeping potion. And in the darkest corner of his shattered world, when every other light had gone out, the king of pop found himself on his knees, not in prayer but in desperate, childlike begging for the one thing he believed could save him from the endless night inside his own head. Picture the rented mansion in Holmby Hills, June 2009. The house is too big, too quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your chest like a weight. It's past 1 a.m. Michael Jackson lies on the massive bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. He knows by heart. His body is exhausted from another brutal rehearsal day, but his mind is wide awake, racing through every fear, every ghost, every headline that still haunts him. Sleep has become a stranger, a cruel joke that teases him for hours before vanishing again. He turns to the only man in the room who can help. Dr. Conrad Murray stands beside the IV stand, looking uneasy. Michael's voice is small, almost pleading, the same voice that once commanded stadiums of 80,000 people. "Doctor, please, just a little milk. I need to sleep. I have to be ready for the show. The children, the world is waiting. Please." He calls it milk because of the way it looks. Pure white, thick, innocent in the syringe. Like the warm glass his mother used to bring him as a little boy in Gary, Indiana. But this milk is no comfort food. This is propofol, a powerful surgical anesthetic designed for operating rooms, meant to knock patients out for minutes, not hours. It is never supposed to be used for insomnia, never supposed to be dripped into someone's vein at home, with no heart monitor, no breathing tube, no anesthesiologist standing by. Yet here it is, becoming Michael's nightly ritual. Murray hesitates, but Michael begs harder. His hands clutch the sheets. His voice cracks. "I can't do this anymore. I haven't really slept in weeks, months. Please, just give me the milk." And Murray gives in, again. To understand how Michael Jackson, the man who once danced on air, ended up hooked on a hospital drug in his own bedroom, you have to go back to the fire. January 27th, 1984. The Pepsi commercial shoot in Los Angeles. Lights, cameras, thousands of extras. Michael is in his element, performing Billie Jean when a pyrotechnic explosion goes horribly wrong. Flames erupt behind him and engulf his scalp in seconds. Second and third degree burns. The pain is unimaginable. Raw, screaming agony that no ordinary pill can touch. Doctors pump him full of heavy painkillers, Demerol, morphine derivatives, the kind that wrap your nerves in cotton and let you forget the fire for a few blessed hours. That was the first time the drugs entered his bloodstream, not as medicine, but as escape. He survived the burns. He wore wigs for the rest of his life to hide the scars. But the real scar was invisible, the one that made sleep feel like a battlefield. For years, it stayed manageable. Then came 2005, the child molestation trial in Santa Maria. 5 months of pure hell. Every day, Michael is marched into a packed courtroom like a criminal, flashbulbs exploding, tabloids screaming his name with words he never deserved. The pressure is crushing. Nights become torture. He can't shut his brain off. The paranoia grows. Every shadow feels like a reporter. Every creak in the house feels like another accusation. That's when the doses explode. Painkillers for the old burn scars that flare up under stress. Benzodiazepines, Valium, Ativan, Xanax, to quiet the racing thoughts. He swallows them like candy just to get through the night. Karen Fay, his makeup artist of nearly 30 years, watched it happen up close. She later testified that during the trial, Michael would break down in her arms at 3 a.m., crying before she even washed his hair. He was terrified. He was breaking. And the only thing that brought any relief was the growing cocktail of pills and injections that promised oblivion. Acquitted on all counts, yes, but the damage was done. The trial didn't just scar his reputation, it burned away whatever fragile piece he had left. From that moment on, sleep wasn't just difficult, it became impossible without chemical help. The insomnia became chronic, relentless, a living nightmare that left him wandering the halls of his rented homes like a ghost, whispering to himself, replaying every humiliating moment. By 2009, with the This Is It rehearsals demanding perfection, the desperation reached a breaking point. Michael told Murray he hadn't experienced real restorative sleep in nearly 60 straight days. 60 nights of lying there, eyes burning, mind screaming, body collapsing from exhaustion but never allowed to rest. The only thing that worked, the only thing that ever worked anymore, was propofol. He loved the way it felt. One moment he was begging, terrified he would never sleep again. The next, the white liquid slid into his vein, cool and smooth, and within seconds the world melted away. No dreams, no nightmares, just deep, black, perfect nothingness. When he woke, he felt reborn, refreshed, ready to face another day of rehearsals. He would tell Murray with something close to wonder in his voice, "That milk, it's the only thing that lets me sleep like a baby." But it was a lane the body couldn't keep. Propofol doesn't heal insomnia, it hijacks the brain, it stops the natural sleep cycle cold. No REM, no restoration, just chemical shutdown. And every time it wore off, the rebound was worse. Deeper exhaustion, sharper anxiety, stronger cravings. Michael knew it was dangerous. He had asked other doctors for it before. Some refused, Murray didn't. For weeks, sometimes twice a night, the IV pole stood beside the bed like a silent sentinel. No hospital equipment, no alarms if his breathing slowed. Just a doctor, a syringe, and a desperate man who believed this was his only ticket to the stage. You can almost feel the tragedy in that room, the soft beep of the drip, the faint smell of antiseptic, the way Michael's thin chest would finally rise and fall in even rhythm after hours of torment. For a few hours, the king of pop was at peace. The world outside kept spinning, the promoters counting ticket money, the fans dreaming of London. While inside that bedroom, a man who had given everything to music was slowly trading his life for sleep. This wasn't rock star excess. This was a broken human being at the end of his rope, reaching for the only lifeline he had left. And the cruelest part? The very thing he begged for night after night was the thing quietly counting down the minutes until his heart would stop. Because milk, in Michael Jackson's world, was never meant to save him. It was only meant to carry him gently, straight into the dark. And on the morning of June 25th, 2009, that dark finally closed in for good. Chapter 4, The Fateful Night, June 24th to 25th, 2009, minute by minute. While the rest of Los Angeles slept under a warm summer sky, the final act of Michael Jackson's life was unfolding in a rented Holmby Hills mansion. A slow-motion nightmare that would be replayed in courtrooms and conspiracy forums for years to come. It began quietly at 1 a.m. Michael returned from the final rehearsal at the Staples Center. He had been electric on stage that night, focused, energetic, almost like the old Michael. The crew breathed a sigh of relief, but the moment he walked through the bedroom door, the mask fell. Exhaustion hit him like a wave. He collapsed onto the bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Sleep would not come. Dr. Conrad Murray, the man paid $150,000 a month by AEG to keep the star performing, began the nightly ritual. First Valium, then lorazepam, then midazolam. Powerful sedatives injected one after another. Murray later claimed he was trying to ease Michael into sleep gently, but Michael stayed awake, eyes glassy, body twitching, mind racing with the pressure of 50 looming shows. Hours dragged by. The clock ticked past 4 a.m., then 6 a.m., then 8 a.m. Still no sleep. Around 10:40 a.m., Michael could take no more. He sat up, thin chest heaving, voice breaking into the desperate plea that would haunt everyone who heard the recording later. "Dr. Conrad, I have these rehearsals. I must be ready for the show in England. Please, just give me some milk. I need to sleep. I can't do this without it." Murray hesitated, but Michael begged harder, tears in his eyes. The doctor finally surrendered. He prepared 25 milligrams of propofol, the white milk, and pushed it into the IV line already taped to Michael's arm. Then he started the slow drip, Within minutes, Michael's breathing slowed, his body relaxed, and at approximately 10:50 a.m., his eyes closed for the very last time. For the next 66 minutes, the room was eerily peaceful. Murray sat nearby, monitoring, or so he claimed. Then at 11:56 a.m., Murray looked over and froze. Michael was not breathing. Here is where the nightmare truly began, and where the shocking decisions started piling up like evidence in a horror film. Instead of grabbing the phone and calling 911 immediately, the one act that could have saved the king of pop, Murray did something almost unbelievable. He picked up his own phone and called his girlfriend, a cocktail waitress in Las Vegas. Then he called his insurance agent, personal calls, while Michael lay dying. Worse still, Murray turned to the security guard who had just entered the room, Alberto Alvarez, and gave a chilling order. "Help me hide everything." Together they stuffed vials of propofol, the IV bags, and the syringes into trash bags and shoved them out of sight. Only after the evidence was concealed did Murray finally tell Alvarez to call Michael's assistant at 12:12 p.m. Even then, he lied. Michael had a bad reaction. "Get here right away." No mention of cardiac arrest, no urgency. The 911 call finally went out at 12:21 p.m., nearly 30 minutes after Murray first noticed Michael had stopped breathing. Paramedics from the Los Angeles Fire Department raced through the gates and found a scene of pure chaos. Michael was on the soft mattress. No pulse, no breath. Murray was performing CPR with only one hand, completely useless on a yielding surface that absorbed every compression. The paramedics took over. They fought for more than an hour at the mansion and then at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. But the damage was done. At 2:26 p.m., Michael Jackson was officially pronounced dead. The world would learn the details later. But in that bedroom, in those critical minutes, one question screamed louder than any siren. Why didn't the doctor, the man whose only job was to protect Michael, call for help the second he saw the problem? Chapter 5, The Trial and the Brutal Truth. 2 years later, in a Los Angeles courtroom, Conrad Murray sat stone-faced as the world finally heard the full horror. His defense was simple and shocking. "I only stepped out of the room for 2 minutes. Michael must have injected himself with extra propofol while I was gone." The courtroom fell silent. Then Dr. Christopher Rogers, the chief forensic pathologist who performed the autopsy, took the stand. His words landed like a hammer. With the levels of propofol and benzodiazepines found in Michael's blood, it was physically impossible for him to wake up, self-administer more drug, and then fall back asleep in just 2 minutes. This was not an accident caused by the patient. This was homicide. The jury agreed. On November 29, 2011, Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, the first time a doctor had ever been found guilty of killing a patient with propofol at home. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison. But California's overcrowded prisons meant he served only 2 years before walking free in 2013. Even more infuriating to millions of fans, Murray lost his medical licenses in California, Nevada, and Texas. Yet today he quietly practices medicine again in Trinidad and Tobago, still loudly proclaiming his innocence on social media and in interviews. "I did not kill Michael Jackson," he insists. "Michael killed himself." The Jackson family tried to hold someone else accountable too. In 2013, they filed a civil lawsuit against AEG Live, claiming the company was negligent for hiring Murray and pressuring him to keep Michael performing at any cost. The jury sided with AEG. Their reasoning? AEG did not know Murray was giving propofol at home, and Murray was technically an independent contractor. Money won again. But the rumors never died. They exploded. Some whispered that Murray was never meant to save Michael. He was hired to keep him sedated and compliant so the $400 million tour machine could keep rolling. Others pointed to the strange cream incident right after the death pronouncement. Murray frantically asked an assistant for a ride back to the house to retrieve some cream Michael wouldn't want the world to know about. Security quickly locked the estate down, suspecting Murray wanted to destroy more evidence of the deadly milk. Was it just vitiligo cream or the final stash of propofol? Conspiracy forums lit up with darker theories. Was the overdose accidental, or was someone higher up quietly happy that a $17.5 million life insurance policy on Michael would now pay out? Did the music industry need the king of pop more alive or more valuable in death? The questions still burn. And the biggest question of all lingers like smoke after a fire. If one doctor, one promoter, or even one desperate man had simply listened when Michael's body screamed for help, when he begged his mother, when he collapsed in rehearsal, when he pleaded for sleep, would the king of pop still be alive today? Or was the machine simply too big, the money too loud, and the man too broken to ever be saved? The final curtain had fallen, not on a stage in London, but in a quiet bedroom in Los Angeles, where a genius who once lit up the world was left alone with his demons and a syringe of white milk that promised peace and delivered eternity instead. The stage lights have gone dark. The final curtain has fallen. But one question still echoes louder than any stadium roar. Who really killed Michael Jackson? Let's lay it out clearly. No sugarcoating, no excuses. Directly responsible was the man who held the syringe, Dr. Conrad Murray. He pushed the plunger, chose silence over 911 for nearly 30 minutes, and ordered security to hide the vials while Michael's heart was already stopping. A doctor who treated the king of pop like a late-night pharmacy. The jury convicted him of involuntary manslaughter. Yet today he walks free, still practicing medicine and still claiming innocence. Indirectly but devastatingly responsible was the machine that never stopped live. They doubled the shows from 10 to 50, ignored desperate warnings that Michael was collapsing, and paid Murray $150,000 a month not to heal him, but to keep the money machine running. When the golden goose started dying, they tightened the leash instead of saving him. Personally responsible was Michael Jackson himself. He knew the drugs were dangerous. He begged for milk night after night, chained by addiction and $500 million in debt. Even a king can become prisoner to his own demons. And behind it all was the invisible hand, the entire Hollywood system, a machine that turns geniuses into products and throws them away when they stop generating profit. Michael Jackson did not die from disease. He did not die in an accident. He died from money, from drugs, and from the cold indifference of everyone around him. If just one person had cared more about the broken man named Michael than about the brand called King of Pop, he might still be here today. So now it's your turn. Who do you believe carries the biggest responsibility? Drop your answer in the comments. Murray, AEG Live, Michael himself, or the whole Hollywood system? If this story hit you hard, smash like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We're launching a full series, Stars Swallowed by Hollywood. Thank you for watching until the end. Michael gave the world magic. The least we can do is never forget the price he paid.